Hello cooler fans, I'm the PC Expert Amateur and we're going to take a look at the GAMDIAS Aura GL240 version 2 white. That's the WH obviously. If it's BK, it's black because BK doesn't work for blue. Right? Yeah. And it does have some nice features about it. The specifications, the top comes protected by a nice sheet of foam, but like most, it comes in this cheap cardboard tray that is easily damaged. You can see what's in it right now. It has smaller than some in terms of what's in the mounting kit. It does include its own thermal paste. It has both AMD and Intel. Its own manual. This is actually no language, just measurements and mostly just pictures. So it does give good information on how to mount this thing. But you know, if you have paid attention to what I have taught you, you know that when you're mounting a fan or a cooler or whatever, you're going to always try to mount it such that you partially tighten one, and then you go to the opposite corner, partially tighten that, then go to either this one or this one, partially tighten, and then go to the last one, partially tighten, then return to the first one, tighten it all the way, tighten it all the way, tighten it all the way, and then you're going to go back and you're going to double check all four of them in the same pattern each time until it's fully tightened. But please be careful, don't over tighten. Because if you're over tightened, then you become a god. Get it? Tighten? God? Okay. Look at the water block. The water block does have the pump on it. We can see a nice big copper plate on here, although inside it is not copper necessarily. You can also see that this has got a brushed aluminum appearance on it, and it says you can rotate this. I'm not really sure how exactly that works. Ah, I see now. This can be rotated. Heck, you can even rotate it so it's annoying to anybody that has OCD about this sort of thing. It has custom or standard connectors for PWM. It also has a connector for ARGB for both male and female, so you can do a daisy chain. And this, I believe, is for changing the modes, perhaps also turning it off. We'll find out in a minute. This does have tubes that rotate rather begrudgingly. But, you know, as you move it, it gets a little bit looser and easier to do. That doesn't mean you should go there and play with it all the time, but, you know, you might wear out the O-rings if you do it too much. And aside from that, this appears to be one of those designs where they have simplified the concept to try and reduce the complexities of mounting, but I could be wrong about that. Now is the time to look at the lighting. Now the first thing you're going to notice is I've got it plugged in, but the lights aren't on. Is it broken? Do we need to press the button? Well, let's try that first, but I already know what the answer is. Nope, it's not that. So what it is actually is that the lighting needs power from both the ARGB cable as well as the PWM cable. So it's stealing electricity from the PWM connector, which means, at least in theory, if you want to make sure that you get the maximum performance from this when needed, you shouldn't use the LEDs on here. Now, we can see that it does work. And a little bit noisy when I got my ear pressed up against it. But it's actually, I can't really hear it at this distance. And it's not in a case. So it's safe to say this is a very quiet pump. Of course, we want to know whether or not, in certain circumstances, it might become a noisy pump. And that's usually because of air that's trapped somewhere. Excuse me. Ah, there it is. I don't know if you heard that or not. Let me get this out of the way and see if I can duplicate that. Nope. There was initially, as I was turning the radiator, there was initially a rush of air going through here, in which you could hear that. It's not a gurgling, it's just kind of like a kind of noise. But it's already silent again. So wherever it is, and I don't even know how fast the pump is because they didn't provide that information on their website. It's doing its job of keeping the air from getting trapped somewhere, I guess. Although, you can find out maybe by doing this. So now I'll try again. Nope. Now there is a little bit of discoloration on one of the tubes. I don't know why. This was sealed when I received it. So there's a little bit of brown spot on this one, and you can easily see. And there's another one that's not so easy to see. It's very faint right here, and also a very faint one over here. I don't know why. They're apparently slightly dirty. I feel lucky for having gotten this, because normally this is a kind of an expensive one, but I got it for very little. Let's see what happens when I use the button here. So we see what's going on here, right? This can be used to override the instructions from the motherboard. So now we know that we have a very, very quiet pump, although we don't know how fast it moves or what its pressure is, you know, the head or lift that it's got, the rate of how many liters per hour or whatever. None of that information is provided. No big surprise. A lot of companies seem to think that they don't need to give us their specifications. And it kind of ticks me off, to be honest, because it's disrespectful toward the customer and kind of suggests maybe some shadiness or some lack of quality, or maybe they're afraid to be tested and found wanting. And this way they can say, well, we didn't publish the specs, so as far as you know, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Or they can just say, yeah, that's exactly what we have in our labs. These come pre-attached, and you'll notice that the logo is in yellow. If you happen to take them off, it is yellow on the other side as well. Another thing that I noticed when I pulled this out of the container is that there's that little, I don't know, smudge. Maybe, yeah, it's starting to come off. So, you know, maybe they're just not very careful in the warehouse before they package things to use like gloves on the hands. I can also see some slight deformation of the veins in here. Like there's one right here. These are easy to fix if you have a small blade. Just don't go too deep and don't try too hard. There's another one there. I mean, it's not imperative that you do it unless it looks like it's a problem. And if it looks like it's a problem, then you don't fix it either. You just go ahead and contact the company and say, hey, I don't know what you guys are monkeying around with at the factory, but my radiator is messed up. So it comes mounted with these 4 long bolts on each fan. And you'll notice that the heads are rounded, which is unusual. Most of the time you don't see rounded heads like that. At least not that particular kind. Let's go ahead and see what the fans sound like. And you'll notice, and this is a little bit annoying to me, these fans use a 7-pin connector. So you can't just like say, well, you know what, I want to use these fans, I want to on something else. I'm going to put different fans on here. You can easily replace these fans. That's not the problem. The problem is given that it has a 7-pin connector, a 7-pin JST connector, it's going to be hard to find a hub that will be compatible with this because you don't know what the pinouts are. You don't know which hubs or controllers match these pinouts. And if you do it wrong, you destroy, at the very least, you're going to destroy the LEDs, like I did on one fan once when I was trying to do that. And at worst, yeah, the whole fan goes kaput, but that's not as likely. So it does have a splitter that it comes with to go to both PWM and ARGB. There is no daisy chaining for this though. Whereas you can daisy chain from the motherboard to the pump to the fans for ARGB, you can't do the same for PWM. And there we go. Looks pretty good. I mean, for a basic fan. And you can see that for whatever reason on both ends of the radiator, they've got these large caps that add a significant amount of length to this AIO, which may or may not be a problem depending on your case, depending on how tight the space is. So just keep that in mind. I was unable to locate a fill port on here. I don't know if it's concealed beneath one of these caps or if it just doesn't exist. But I suppose it could be underneath this serial number label over here. But aside from that, yeah, I'm at a loss. Mildly annoyed, but that's okay. Not every company has the smarts to provide a fill port for the customer. So now, let's see what it looks like with the fan blades moving. And it's a warm day, so it feels good to me. I don't know if you can hear that very well. Here we go. Wow, isn't this fun? It's already kind of noisy. There's a kind of a hum at this point. I don't think it's a harmonic resonance though. Yeah, there's definitely a hum, but it's not coming and going like harmonic resonances do. It's something else. So some people might be annoyed by that. And I don't know how much of it is just because my hands are in the way. Yeah, that is kind of loud. I'm surprised. Then again, it is only a 2-fan unit, so it's got to work harder to do the same job as a 360 or a 420. Now we know what the sound is like. We're going to do one more thing. I'm going to get out my handy dandy, very high-tech pressure differential device. There is my differential reader, I guess you could say. I don't really want to take the fans off to show you their potential off of the device, so we're just going to do it like this. Now it's going through, so it's not going to be as strong as it would otherwise, but we're still looking at approximately 70 degrees. So that's not bad. I was definitely not expecting it to be 70 degrees. I would say that probably if you've got a really hot CPU, you're definitely not going to want to get the 240 like this. You definitely want to get a larger one. I don't feel as if this provides enough power for a really strong CPU, a really hot CPU that is. However, if you've got a CPU that is cooler, this should be fine. That's about it from me. If you have any questions or comments, please, as always, be civil, and I'll do my best to answer your questions for you. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you have a great day.
I need to ask for your help. Things have been challenging. Whose life hasn't been challenging lately? So if you can please help me out by liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, and turning on notifications, that would be really, really super. Also, if you'd like to help me financially and you can afford to, you can do a super thanks on my Glenn's Fast Reviews channel, or you can become a member there. Or if you prefer, you can go to patreon.com/GLENNMII and become a member there instead. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Bleeping Computer for their support of my channel. If you need resources for computers, for getting rid of malware and learning about cybersecurity and stuff, Bleeping Computer, BLEEPING computer.com is a great resource. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.